What's happening here? Oh yes, we're live, we're live, we're live. Hi guys, hello, hello. So we are having a little bit of technical difficulty. I'm trying to get Anna Taylor to join the call today for our self-love affair live teaching all about your spirit team. And Anna is a total expert on angels, and I just think it's so much better to hear the expert speak about this subject because it's really not my expertise, but it is a big part of my life. Now just bear with me for a second, guys, because I'm just trying to see what I can see here. We've got some reactions. So guys, can you tell me, I think some people have joined, so can you type in that you've joined? And maybe let me know where you're calling from. Let me know that you can see me and hear me. Just give me that thumbs up, because I've never used this technology to do an expert interview before. And so far it's failing us because Anna can't seem to join. If I change my screen view somewhat, maybe that will help, maybe not. Jean says hello. Hi, Jean. Well, obviously you can see me and hear me then, I guess. This doesn't really seem to be working, and I've lost Anna. Hold on, guys, please bear with me. Thank you for bearing with me. Maybe get yourself a cup of tea, but there's more of you joined, I'm pretty sure. So if you could let me know that you see me and hear me, that would be really awesome. Anna, oh, I saw you for a second there. Oh, what's going on? We keep losing you. Yeah, Jean says she can see me and hear me. Don't know what's going on here. Hold on a minute. I'm really not too sure what to do. I'm just messaging Anna. Hold on one second. Just messaging her. She's trying desperately to join, and we're having so much trouble. I don't know. We need to call on the angels. Let me just message her and say, Anna, call on the angels for help. And let's see what happens, because that's what this is about, actually. Funnily enough, I mean, I can see another viewer has joined. If you can let me know if you can see me and hear me, that would be great. We're having a little bit of technical trouble. I'm trying to get Anna, our angel expert, to join us. And, having angelic support and the support of our spirit guides. Here she is. She's trying to join. Fingers crossed.
I can see like a tiny piece of you. I can't see me.
It doesn't matter.
I'm not sure what's going on. I might see if I can try on my phone. I don't know if that works, but I'm going to try it.
Oh, no, she's gone. Can't hear you. Oh, you can't hear me? Jean, can you hear me? And could you let me know if you heard and saw Anna just then as well? Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your help with this. We're having a bit of a stunted start today. I see you both. Oh, great. You saw us both. Can you hear us as well, Jean? Because Tanya's saying she can't hear. Well, you must be able to hear me because you're responding to me, so of course you can. Tanya, I'm not too sure. Thanks, Jean. Tanya, I'm not too sure why you can't hear. Hold on a minute. Anna is messaging me. Okay, she's calling on the angels for help, and she's going to log in and out. I'm just going to say the viewers could see and hear you. So, okay. You can't see and hear me. Okay, well, I guess we've got a third viewer. Hello, who's just joining. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty. I'm calling on the angels right now for support. Let's call on Archangel Michael, because he's kind of like, he's the king of them all. And let's call in, if we could all call in Archangel Michael to help us today. That would be awesome to get Anna on the call. Okay, yeah, she's having a lot of trouble, and I'm not too sure how we can host this call. Hey, Helen, good to see you. This isn't great, is it? All right, guys. Well, look, how's about I just kick off the call, And how's about I do my very best, and let's just trust that Anna will be able to join us in the goodness of time, and it will all work out perfect. But if she doesn't, then you're just stuck with me. So really, it's a kind of a simple message today, and I suppose I want to preface it with, what I'm going to share is very much my own personal beliefs, and when I talk about my spirit team, which I'm not going to get into this, they're my guides and angels. That's my personal belief. Okay, so I'm not going to push this on you. If it's totally not your bag, if it sounds really, really woo-woo to you, then that's okay. It's not for you. My spirit team is part of my spiritual practice. It's part of my spirituality, my spiritual beliefs. I once upon a time had zero spirituality, and I actually rebelled against anything even remotely connected to the word spirit or spiritual. Growing up, I was actually part of the church, and not a huge part per se. My mum was sort of doing the right thing, to speak her words. She put me through Sunday school when I was a young girl, and she was actually a Sunday school teacher, albeit she wasn't at all religious. So she was kind of following our society's rules. Where we grew up, it was the Church of England and the Uniting Church, so basically Christianity. And she thought it was the right thing, and that she should have me go to church and be educated in that part of religion, in Christian religion. And yeah, so she was kind of ticking that box and doing her best at being a great, conscious, aware parent. Thanks, guys. I can see you're still there with me. And let's hope Anna can join in a minute. So yeah, I kind of grew up with that. But it was very weird mixed messaging for me growing up, because as much as she encouraged me to go to church and that it was the done thing, and we ought to go at Easter and we ought to go at Christmas, and she ought to be a Sunday school teacher, the messaging was mixed, because at home they didn't really believe heavily in Christian teachings. Actually, they didn't poo-poo it, but it wasn't like they would have identified as being Christian. So it was kind of a little bit confusing. And then that kind of got left. Mum did her bit, made sure we had some grounding in a Christian faith, and then I became a teenager, as if like by overnight. Suddenly I grew up and I was a teenager, and I was sort of 15, 16, 17 years old, and I was really exploring, and I had a real sense that there has to be more. As a teenager, I definitely was in a constant existential crisis, and the hormones were raging, and I was definitely questioning life and the world. My son is about to turn 11. He's already doing it. We've already had amazing conversations. But I was sort of in my late teens when I did, and I went back into the church. I didn't know where else to go. And I always felt a sense in a church. I felt a sense of peace. I did feel a sense of deep connection with myself. But I did also struggle. I felt a lot of guilt and shame and worry, because I didn't feel like I was a good enough human. The messaging was that I wasn't good enough, that I was a sinner to some degree. I can see Anna's trying to join.
I saw myself for about 5 seconds again. Oh, I can't believe that you can't see. I can't see you, and I can see a tiny bit of Katie's screen.
Can you hear me? See me, Anna?
Okay, I am trying a million things. I'm going to do the last thing I know and see if I can contact BeLive and ask them if there's any glitches going on.
Sorry, darling. No, that's not working. Bless her. She can't see me or hear me. So I'll continue on with my story. So what was I saying? Yeah, so then I was questioning everything, and yeah, I did find solace in church. I did have a sense of peace and serenity and connection, but like I was just saying, that was also counterbalanced with this sense of real guilt and shame, and I was discouraged from even having male friends because of not being able to trust my human mind and its wanderings, and the evil, sinning thoughts that it would have. So I found it really hard to be a teenager in terms of connecting with boys. I went to an all-girls school, and I was kind of the messaging through the religion that I was a part of told me that to have male friends would mean that my mind would sin. So I was always very confused by that. And, you know, no judgment. That's just my experience of one church and one group of people. And amongst that group of people were some awesome people with the most beautiful big hearts. And so I'm looking all over the screen because I've got messages popping up. Anna's trying to join. She's messaging. You guys are joining. It's like, bear with me managing technology. So yeah, it was a bit of a confusing time. And I think when my mum committed suicide, so I was 22, that's when I really turned my back on religion. And in my experience, religion was the Christian faith and church. That was my only experience. And please let me say again, of one particular church and one particular group of people. And amongst that community were some really awesome, wonderful people with big hearts who really took care of me and made me feel safe and loved, right? So that may just kind of paint that picture too. But when Mum died, some Christian people I knew, I again had mixed messages, because I heard through some of them that suicide was a sin, and that if you committed suicide, you didn't go to heaven. You went to the other place. And that was really hard for me to hear. And equally, I heard some of the same people saying, but not your mum. So a rule was made that my mum wasn't that person, that she would go to heaven because she was a good, beautiful, loving woman, and she'd go to heaven. Anna's trying. I know you are, my darling Anna. I don't know how we're going to get you on. I don't know what's going on with Be Live. I'll have to write to them after and ask them what the deal is. We do see you momentarily, and actually we can see you join and we can hear you. And you're speaking and you're saying, I'm here, but you can't seem to hear us. And I don't know what I could possibly do this end to fix that, because, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, my darling. So maybe we'll try. How about, Anna, how about you and I will do a Zoom call later, and we'll record it and we'll put it in the group so the ladies have access to that. Okay. Yeah, I'll just keep chatting, Anna. And if you find a solution, that would be wonderful, because we'd love to have you join the call. And if not, everyone's going to have to put up with just me. Okay. So, yeah, so I was very confused. You know, when Mum died, I had that mixed messaging that when someone commits suicide, they go to hell, and except not my mum. And I just didn't understand how there was just so many rules, and it was different rules for different situations. And I really rebelled at that point. I turned my back on anything religion, on anything spirituality. And I decided to just do life on my own. And suffice to say, like, that's a lonely place, because now I know that my truth is that I am fundamentally a spiritual being. I'm fundamentally, you know, love and light. Oh, Jean's saying, good idea to put up a recording of Anna. Yeah, I will do that, Jean. Absolutely. Anna and I will sort out our schedules, and we'll do a quick video and we'll share it in the group so you don't miss out if she can't get on today. So yeah, like, I know now that I'm love and light, and I am a spiritual being having a human experience, and to do life just as human, just believing I'm human, just believing that all I am is this brain, this body, you know, this appearance, doing life just from there was really hard. And I don't know if you can relate, and I wonder if you're listening to me, if you're relating to anything I'm saying. That was hard. And but I did that for a long time. I spent the next probably 10 years doing life alone. But, you know, I couldn't ever escape this feeling like there was more. I just couldn't escape the feeling that there was a spirituality to me, that I did have a soul, and I just didn't know what to do with that. And I didn't ever explore other religions. I think I had such a difficult experience with the church that I made up my mind that you couldn't put walls around spirituality. And that's what the church represented for me personally. They put walls and rules around a feeling. And that didn't sit right for me, to put walls around a feeling. And so I slowly woke up to having my own spirituality, which was just my relationship to me. And that's when my journey of transformation really began, when I started to trust that I could have a relationship with me, that there was more to me than just this human body, that life wasn't easy when I only operated from my mind. I had to learn to operate from my heart and from my soul. And as I started to tune into that power within me that was just so loving and so gentle and nurturing and safe, that's when things started to shift for me. And I always had this sense that I had lives before, and it wasn't something I could explain. I just knew in my soul, I knew that I'd been here before, and everybody had, just about. I felt like we came back again and again, and I felt like this life was meant to mean something, that we're meant to learn and grow and experience something. And it couldn't just be that we die and go to heaven or hell, and that we're judged in that way. That just didn't feel true for me. So yeah, I began my transformational journey, which is what you guys have been doing. So all of the love, the self-love affair lessons that we've had to date have been the transformational journey that I went on. And while I was on that journey and really getting to know and love myself with such compassion and understanding, I had a spiritual awakening. And I can't remember it exactly, and it didn't happen wasn't like one day I woke up. But what I do remember that was very, very pivotal was what I call my rock bottom moment. And it was that day. If you've read my book or heard me speak in public, it's part of my keynote speech always. And that it was that day where I kind of wanted to give up, and I locked myself in my bedroom in the middle of the day and took Valium and was sobbing my heart out, thinking life can't get any worse. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. And I wasn't religious. And I had a little boy in nappies. He was at nursery, and I had to take care of him, but I didn't even know how to take care of myself. And I felt so utterly lost and alone in the world. And what came through for me in that moment was, and I'm feeling emotional now because I'm remembering the power of this moment. This voice inside of me wasn't like this booming voice outside of me. It wasn't God or an angel or a guide. It was none of that. It was a very powerful voice inside of me, but the power was very gentle and very loving at the same time as being hugely powerful. And this voice just said, come on, there's another way. There's another way. You can't give up. This isn't all there is. There is something more. And this voice was like, there's more for you. There's more for you. And what you're experiencing now is like, it just happens to be all that you can see, but there's more for you. And I knew that I'd had that voice inside of me all of my life. It was a very loving voice that would move me in the right direction. It was my intuition, it was my wisdom. And I felt that day that I had to trust that wisdom. I just had to trust it, because it was like it was reaching out to hold my hand to save me that day. And I needed saving that day. And I needed rescuing. And I just had to trust that voice. And from that moment onwards, my relationship to my spiritual self began. I can see Anna's trying to join the call again.
I am. I'm trying to join.
Are you here?
I am, but I can't see you or me.
Wait, press this button and see if that makes a difference. So can I see you or hear you?
I can see a tiny bit of your hand and not me at all. So I don't know where I'm looking.
Wait, let me hold on, people. Let's try this. How's that?
No, can't see you or me. This is so weird.
Well, we've just got a little bit of Anna and a big bit of me by the looks of it. This is working. I'm going to try.
This is hilarious. Talk about Mercury retrograde.
Is that what it is? Do the angels not? Can you actually hear me, Anna?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, Right, I can hear you great. Well, okay, do you know what?
Let's just do it blind then. Let's just do it blind. I can't see you and you can't see me.
No, I can see you.
Oh, good.
I can see you really well. So as long as we can hear each other.
Okay, perfect.
You look gorgeous, by the way. You look gorgeous. It's good to have you. Let me get a screen view where I'm not tripping off your head. Okay, maybe that will work.
Maybe it's me, because I can't see where I'm looking. So
you're perfect. But
I'll look straight ahead of you and I'll talk and we'll just hope for the best. Because I can hear you, which is definitely an improvement.
Awesome. And I've got people joining the call saying they can see us both.
Hi everyone. I can't see you, but I'm lovely to be here.
It's so good to have you. Well, I tell you what, let me just finish what I was just saying. And you come in at the perfect time.
Okay.
You come in at the absolute perfect time. I was just giving a little bit of my own backstory, which I didn't know I was going to give, but I'm like,
yes, I did hear you say something which I was going to comment on in a minute. So I'll wait for you to finish the story and then.
Oh, great. Thanks, Anna. Thank you, darling. I'm so glad you're here. And people who are on, I'm presuming you can hear us both too. I'm presuming you can hear Anna as well as see her. If you could just let me know, that would be great. So that was sort of, I was just saying, Anna, the beginnings of me waking up to my own spirituality and my own faith, and in my spirituality, you know, how it is for me. And I'm not here to say what spirituality is, give an opinion. All I'm doing is sharing my own experience and my own opinion. And so when my transformational journey began, it began with me connecting to my spiritual self and feeling really safe and at home with me and my spirituality. And then that evolved into, I actually did a process called the Hoffman process. And when I was on the Hoffman process, they introduced me to my spirit guides. And that was like, what? There's more? And I was taken through this meditation, and I really was very cynical. I am the most cynical in my head person. I really can be, right? Particularly back then. And I was hugely cynical going into this meditation, but I met my spirit guides. And I've met more since, and I have actually created a guided visualization called Spirit Guide. So you can meet your spirit guide, and if you want access to that meditation, I will put the link in the comments after this, because you can get that from my website. But yes, I did that, and then I started to meet my angels. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing! I had this help, and I've had experience after experience after experience where I've called on Archangel Michael to help me, and miracles have happened, or various different angels. And this is why I'm calling in Anna to talk to us today, because she is the angel expert, and I don't profess to be. But what I do know is, for me, knowing now that I don't have to do life on my own, knowing that I got me, and that's counts for so much. That's why this transformational process I've been teaching you is so powerful, because it helps you to reconnect back to the truth of you and just have that fundamental, solid relationship with you. And I'm a big believer in not looking outside of yourself to be the best version of you. So this is like, your guides and angels are an awesome support, but they're not a replacement for you doing the work to have, and this is my belief, for you doing the work. I think Anna's going to agree, she's nodding, for you to do the work on yourself, to have that deep, profound, loving, compassionate relationship with yourself. That comes first, and your guides and angels are there then to support you and direct you and help you. So and for me, that was just wonderful to just know I've got that support, and know I've learned how to ask for their help and guidance, and it always comes, and it nearly always ever looks how I think it's going to. It comes in a different way, nearly always. So over to you, Anna. Tell her, why don't you just introduce yourself to everybody and let them know who you are and what you do first.
Okay. I can read a lot of the comments in the live section. I am getting a bit of a feedback, so if you're getting feedback, let me know when I'm speaking. But I'm Anna Grace Taylor. I am an angel therapist, which means that I can connect with your angels to give you guidance, and answer your questions and help you to open your heart. And, you know, we've spoken about this before, Katie, but I really believe that it's all about love. And the experience that I did hear you speak about earlier about, you know, whether your mum was going to hell because she committed suicide, you know, it's just I get so passionate about stuff like that, because to me it's all love, and the belief in hell or anything that is fearful is a human experience. It's not a divine one. So to me, everything that I do is based on that belief that we are all that love, and that the angels are there to remind us of who we are. And so they're a bridge between our human experience and that pure divine love that we also are in spirit. So to me, they're messengers, they are friends, but as you said, they're not there to intervene with our free will, which is why sometimes people will say, you know, why is this really challenging time happening for me? Why does bad stuff happen if we have angels? Well, it's because we all have stuff going on as human beings, don't we? And they can't intervene, particularly if we don't ask them. So I feel like my job is to introduce people to the angels and also remind them that they have to ask for help. You know, they're just kind of standing there or being there, waiting and watching for us to actually ask them. So that's kind of what I see my role as.
Totally. And I've had not that long ago, we had a session together, didn't we?
We had a long session, huh?
That's unusual. And you're really helpful. Just really, I mean, it was interesting when I was chatting with you and you were giving me guidance from the angels. It was almost like my inner wisdom knew it, what you were saying. It was
a lot of the time that when we do a reading or a session, especially if you are intuitive or you spend a lot of time nurturing that part of yourself, which you do, you know, a lot of it will not be a surprise. It will be confirmation. It will be that feeling in your gut that you already know. It will be that reassurance that, you know, you are following that little nudge or that little feeling, or, you know, the reason why we sometimes feel disconnected from that is because we're not very good at trusting it sometimes, are we? You know? And so I just feel like sometimes we're reminding each other of like, hey, there is a different way, or hey, have you tried this, or maybe this is why you feel this way. It's not necessarily anything that we haven't heard. It's just often as human beings, we really love to feel supported, don't we? Especially if we're going through a difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to pause you there for a second and just say to the people who are watching, if you have any questions for Anna, just type them in now so that we've got them lined up.
Look at the questions.
Let's address those.
Awesome.
So Anna, well, why don't you explain what's the difference between an angel and a spirit guide?
I was about to say that because you just talked about that and how you met both of them. Now, as I've gone along in my journey, I try not to be kind of too, you know, like all knowing about these kinds of things, because really, actually, it's just my experience, as you said, and we can all have different experiences and we can all see it slightly differently. And essentially, it's all the divine. And so it doesn't quite matter what you call it. But to me, this is my truth. And that is that the angels are beings of love and light that usually haven't had a human experience. And our guardian angels have been with us since birth. So they're assigned to us, since, you know, because, hey, like we're going to have this life experience. So you get guardian angels. Okay, so to me, that is your guardian angels. And you have archangels who can help you with various different things, like Archangel Michael that you mentioned. And they, to me, are pure love. Okay, the spirit guides that we have are very loving, but they are often more human in form. Would you agree with that, Katie?
I would, actually. That's been my experience of them. Very human.
So to me, a spirit guide would, you know, I'm just giving an example here, would be maybe a Native American, or it could be sometimes actually your relatives who've passed a long time before you can actually be a spirit guide. Sometimes it might be, you know, somebody that was really known in the field that you're working with. Maybe it could be an animal, all those kinds of things. But the the essence of it for me is that a guide usually has walked the human earth, and the angels are that pure loving energy that don't have the personality. So for example, if you were to connect with a spirit guide or even a loved one on the other side, they would come across with a personality. Now the angels come across with a different energy to other angels, but they don't have the ego that we have as a human. So they are really unconditional, and the guidance that they give is not based on, you know, you should do this and I'm gonna not, you know, be there for you if you don't do that. Whereas, you know, your guide, even though they're going to be really loving, they might have more of an opinion, and they might feel a little bit more edgy than an angel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's my experience, but they can still all be extremely loving. And spirit guide, I mean, one of my spirit guides, I work with Mother Mary a lot. So she isn't necessarily an angel, but she's very much a guide, and she has had that human experience. So there is a little bit of a difference in energy. Okay.
It's interesting because because I know that I've got an active imagination, and I know I'm also very cynical. So yeah. I know the difference between me imagining, well, what it would feel like to imagine who my spirit guide might be, or guides, and actually feeling it and knowing it and experiencing it. And you know, my first experience with a spirit guide, she was like this warrior princess, and she was really taking a stand for me in my life at that point, which is what was required. And then moving on, not so long ago, I had an experience. It was Mother Mary, and it came as such a shock. I didn't know she was a guide. It was just I didn't have any connection to Mother Mary. I had to actually research afterwards. Like, tell me about Mother Mary. You know, I was like on Google, tell me about Mother Mary. But she came in, and I had the most incredible, miraculous experience with her. And then some months later, Jesus came in, and what was really interesting about that for me was how my story was how I turned my back on the church.
Yes.
And anything to do with any story around Jesus, but for him to show up as my guide on that particular occasion, and again, it was incredibly moving.
Yeah,
I couldn't deny it, and it came out of the blue. It wasn't like I thought it up, and I know it to be my truth, and it was
absolutely. And the thing is that, you know, I think sometimes because of the stories that we've had in the past about, you know, beings like Jesus and Mary, I think we can really go into judgment of like, who, me, and why are they there, and what's going on, and what does that mean? And it really, in my experience, Jesus and Mary have nothing to do with, you know, like a set of rules. They are loving beings, and so if there's any judgment there, it's because we have, you know, been taught that that's the case. But in fact, they are to me, the most love I have ever felt is from them.
Yeah. So how do we, you also said that you froze it a bit, by the way, but don't worry, don't do anything as long as I can still hear you. I don't want to lose you. Are you still there, Anna? Oh no, I think we might have lost Anna altogether, and I was just about to ask a brilliant question that we all want answered, and that is, how do we speak to our angels? How do we ask them questions? Ladies, I can see there's a few viewers on here. Does anybody want to ask Anna a question in the hope that she returns? It looks like maybe her internet has had a little hiccup. Apparently we're in Mercury retrograde. I didn't know. I tend not to think about it because I think where you put your energy is what happens. So, anyone got any questions for Anna? So I was going to ask Anna, how does she speak to the angels? And while we're waiting for her, I'm going to share with you what I've learned. I think part of the experience of receiving in life has to start with asking. And I ask, when I'm asking for guidance or help or support in my life, I blanket it. So I don't, hopefully Anna will come back in a minute. So I blanket it usually. This is why the chapter in the book is called my S team, my spirit team, because I call on all of them. I'm like, they're all pure love. There's the you know, there's no limitations to what you can ask, and there's no limitations to how many guides or angels or whoever, whatever you're calling on. There's no limitation to who you can call on. So I go for it. I'm a bit greedy. I call on, I speak to source energy. Usually I use the word God for source energy, the light. But I would call on God, the light, source, to make sure my bases are covered. That's where my little human brain comes in. I call on my angels. I call on the archangels, and I call on my spirit guides. Just energetically, it's a feeling. I do actually say in my mind, you know, God, angels, guides, excuse me, please be with me right now. Please support me. I also change it up to say thank you for being with me and thank you for supporting me. I usually start with it being a request. I say please to start with, and then I remember that it's done, that the moment that I reach out for help, the moment that I ask, it is there and available. So I can actually thank them for being there with me. So then I remember that, and I say thank you for being with me, and thank you for supporting me, and thank you for showing me the way. And then I will chat with them, and I'll say what I'm struggling with, and it might be angry right now, but I'm willing not to be. Can you show me the way? Anna's back.
Yay, I'm back. Connection. Oh, this is a really fabulous broadcast for me, isn't it? But yeah, I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me again now?
I can hear you perfectly. And I was about to ask you, how do you ask for help? Because I was just saying, I kind of, you know, I'll say, usually I find that when I'm desiring to receive something in my life, whether it's usually for me, it's not so much a tangible thing as it's, oh, hold on, all our live comments have gone a bit strange. I don't know if.
Yeah, I can't. Oh, hang on a minute. Let me see. Oh, I can see. Yeah, I can see Sandy for me as the last one.
Yeah, got that. Okay. Yeah. So it's gone a bit strange. Thank you, Sandy. What was I saying? Yeah, how
do you ask? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually asking for a tangible thing. Sometimes I ask for money. I'm not going to lie. But usually for me, usually it's a feeling. Usually it's like I want to transform something. I want to have a different experience of something. I want to understand something. I want help moving through something. So usually I'll say, you know, thank you. I'm feeling really lost and alone right now, and I don't know how not to. Can you show me the way? Or I'm feeling really angry right now, and I'm willing not to. Can you show me the way? And that's usually my prayer, and it will get answered in miraculous ways. But Anna, how do you speak to?
I mean, if I'm having a really difficult time, and I have to admit, up until last week, I was in bed for 10 days straight with a horrible viral thing. And if you're not feeling good, you know, the last thing you're going to think about is, oh my goodness, I have to come up with like a special prayer and a special thing. So, you know, I think any way that you ask is perfectly fine. I think the angels are more interested in the fact that we ask more than how we ask. But if I really want to feel as open as I can, and I really want to feel connected, I do usually start with thank you, angels, for helping me with this, or thank you, angels, for showing me a different way, or thank you, angels, for giving me clarity. So I say thank you as if it's already happened, because to me it feels like, well, it kind of is, because as you know, they're always there anyway. So really the thing about it is that when you're focusing on the gratitude of it, you're already opening yourself up to that possibility and that miracle. So that's usually what I do. And I have to say, since we spoke, there's this beautiful thing, and I really thought of you so much when I heard it. It was actually via Robert Holden, who is one of my teachers, or one of the people that I really love listening to, and he talks a lot about love and self-love, just as you and I do. And there was a prayer that he mentioned, I think, in one of his broadcasts, and it's by a Benedictine nun, and she is called Macrina Widirka. And I'll post it in the comments for you. Can you hear me, Katie?
I can hear you.
She says, oh God, or oh angels, or oh universe, whatever you feel, is appropriate for you. Help me to see the truth about myself, no matter how beautiful it is. I mean, oh my God, can you just breathe that in for a second? It's like, when I heard it, I was like, oh, quick, I need to say that again.
Eyes went up straight away.
Isn't that just, oh God, help me to believe the truth about myself, no matter how beautiful it is. I mean, that's it. That's it, really, isn't it?
I feel so joyful when I hear you say that. It's really making me.
Yeah, I know. And I just feel, for me, like at this point in my life, and particularly with everything that we do and that we focus on, I just feel like that's the prayer, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. So, so yeah, because actually what that really reminded me of, and what he was saying, is that so often when we talk about, our lives being different or wanting to be more loving to ourselves, that we always focus on it. And even you and I do this, we've talked about this too, that, even in our teaching, sometimes we're seeing it as like an external thing, that if I just do a bit more of this, and if I learn more of this, and if I try and do this, then, I'll be more loving. But actually, this is what he was saying, is that we are really just remembering who we already are. So in this prayer, we're not really asking for anything, but to remember that we are so already beautiful and that we're already loved. Right. So to me, I've been saying that a lot, and I have to say there's so much power in it, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's gorgeous. Now, just to read.
Yes, the questions.
One sec. We've got. So Jean just said, I love that expression. Yeah. Helen has said, is it just simply trusting they've heard you when you call on them? I do see blue specks of light, though.
Yes, it is, because that's what faith and trust is. But it's not that, just as you said before, it's not that we say, okay, I've called on the angels and now I just sit and wait and do nothing. It's like we have to be part of the process. But I do believe, that it's a little bit like if you were going to plant a flower in the garden and you planted the flower or the seed or whatever, you wouldn't keep digging it up to check that you planted it, would you? You just let it grow. So I think that's what we do when we keep checking and keep asking and keep, worrying that it hasn't been answered. So yes, I believe a lot of it is to know that our prayer is answered as we say it, but then also our responsibility to listen to those nudges, to those feelings, to that part of us that might be feeling guided to do something, or that repetitive message, because the angels are constantly giving us that guidance if we're asking. It's just that the question is whether we're paying attention to that or not. So, for example, you might say, thank you, angels, for helping me with my finances, or whatever you're doing. And then you might suddenly, in the next few days, or even immediately, you might go, oh, I suddenly thought of that friend of mine. I don't really know why I thought of that friend of mine. And it might not even feel related to your finances, but actually they might have somebody you're supposed to talk to, or they might have an opportunity for you, or they might. So you have to follow those breadcrumbs as well.
Yeah. Definitely. And I've just realized then I've just had a huge shift in my life. And Anna, about this. I've been trying to sell a property for a long time, right? 9 years I've been trying to sell this property. And it finally went on the market a couple of years ago. Just getting it to that point was a huge deal. And we exchanged on Thursday last week, which was just thank you. I know we'll celebrate. We finally exchanged and it'll be done. Big clearing, big shifts happening as a result of that already. Big.
Yeah. But, I feel like Easter, going back to what we believe energetically versus just a religious thing, Easter, regardless of any religious belief, is a time of rebirth, because we're going into spring, we're going into all these new beginnings. So it's absolutely perfect.
It couldn't be more perfect, could it? And when I met with you in January, or was it February?
February, I think. Mm-hmm.
And you said come April, May, it's going to be done. And
much easier for you. Yeah.
it'll be much easier for me. That's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
But, here's the thing. I've been praying and asking the angels for 9 years.
Yeah.
So let's have a conversation about that, because it's not like they sorted it out back in year one.
No.
I can see now in retrospect why I had to wait. I can see the personal growth I've had. I can see how I've learned to surrender more. I can see how I have learned to have fantastic respect for money.
Yes.
And the different relationship to money, because the money from that house didn't come in 9 years ago. I can see how I had to build my business because I couldn't just live off that cash. I can see how, I can see how it's been the making of me in so many different ways. But while I was going through it, I was like, the angels, they ain't listening.
It's, and I have to say, we've spoken about this too, in our very human ways, is that, I also believe that sometimes we have no idea why things happen the way they do. I think that faith and trust is remembering that things happen when they're meant to, and that is divine timing and divine order. But, there's some things in life that are really hard, right? There are things in life that are really hard. And sometimes we can go, you know what, I don't have a clue why this is not happening. But I also know that, I'm going to surrender it. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that part of you that goes, oh, man, really struggling with my faith. But I also know that it's going to be okay. So I think having those two points of view are really important, because we are human beings. It's okay to have that moment, but then coming back to that place where you really trust that it's okay. So I think that's a prime example of that. It's amazing. So yay, well done. Patience pays off.
And honestly, I felt it in my body as a very physical experience. I got the news, and about 2 hours later, I was I just felt my energy expand.
Yeah.
It was just weight off.
It was like, it's kind of like, for me, it feels for you like there's a lot of like hibernation and introspection and all of those things, and then suddenly when something like that happens, it kind of pops everything, right? So I agree. And it is really physical, and that's why we have to really take care of our bodies, because it's really connected to how we're feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Somebody said, Jean, you were talking about, you have a cousin who committed suicide. His wife tells people he had a heart attack. Is she still suffering, or is he still suffering as his wife can't acknowledge the truth of his death? I struggle with the lie. Well, the thing about this is to know, and I really feel very strongly about this, is that the loved ones on the other side, no matter how they passed, and I was going to say this about your mum, Katie, as well, is that yes, we sometimes go through like a this is my experience of what people have shared with me anyway, that there's like a almost like a review process that we go through. So especially if we do have some unfinished things or big lessons or things that we have gone through that are painful, on a soul level, we go through almost like a learning in that experience. But they aren't connected to the suffering anymore. It's us that's connected to the suffering. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So yes, I understand that is part of your, your cousin's wife not wanting to share the truth. But as far as the person who actually committed suicide, no, that they're not suffering, and that is the biggest question I've ever heard if I've ever connected with loved ones, which isn't the main part of what I do, but sometimes it happens, is that they really want us to know that where they are in this loving space, or really it's energy, right? Because it's all the loving energy is love. There is nothing else. And so we are the ones stuck in the pain and stuck in what happened and stuck in, oh my goodness, I should have done this, I should have done that. So when they come through, with a message or anything like that, they're usually, I mean, they do sometimes, you know, they'll say sorry because they see their, you know, experience from a different perspective, but they are free, you know, they are loved, they are so held in that love because they are that love in that space. So they don't attach themselves to what happened. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And I've had messages come through from various different sources from my mum, actually, and she's great. She ain't in no hell, you know. She's great.
I was going to say that's a totally man-made thing, and that's why we talk about, you know, we make heaven and hell on earth because we get stuck in our fear, but it doesn't exist. So it doesn't exist in the way that we think it does. And remember that love is, I mean, essentially, I know we talk about lots of other things and lots of other emotions, but love is the only truth. And so when we come back to that prayer, oh God, or oh universe, help me to see the truth about myself, no matter how beautiful it is that is the truth. All the other stuff is just a load of stories that we tell ourselves in this human experience, including the death process.
Yeah, totally. And I just want to go on to say that the messages I've had from my mum have been her saying to me, just be in joy, just relax, just breathe, just enjoy, like, because she knows, I know that my biggest piece that I've taken through from my earliest childhood is worry. Yeah. And anxiety. That's always been my piece, and I've done so much work on it now that I don't have anxiety panic attacks anymore, but I know that I can default to worrying, and the message I've always had from mum has been consistent no matter who's told me it, and they don't know me at all, and the message is just breathe, it's okay, it's you know, she's like, just have fun, love, live, enjoy.
Yeah, because the thing is, for them, the perspective is like, we're here for a blink of an eye, you know, we literally are. And so we spend so much time, don't we, like thinking about all the details, or, you know, I should be doing this, and one of the most powerful things I've been told over and over again, just through my clients or even for me, is that the greatest gift that we can give our loved ones, especially if they have, you know, passed away in a tragic way or what we would consider too soon, is to live our lives, to live and be, you know, as peaceful and as happy and as joyful as we can, because that is honoring them. That's honoring their experience, right?
Totally. 100% with you. Helen said, thank you. Jean says, thank you. Anna Marie says, fabulous news on the property sale. And going through that for years as well. I'm just wondering what other questions, if anybody else has any questions, please do post them. I'm glad you saw that last comment because I couldn't see it on my screen.
Yeah, I know it's a big one, and the thing is, because there's already so much pain attached to it, isn't there? There's already so much pain attached to, you know, a tragic death or somebody, you know, passing, you know, through suicide. There's so much pain around it. I think that we can worry that they're suffering as well, and it's the human thing is suffering, right? The soul isn't suffering.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Jean says she loves that.
Yeah.
One last question I might ask you is just, like, you've addressed, I think it was Helen's question about having faith and trust that you have actually spoken to your angels, that you've been heard. Mm-hmm. But outside of faith and trust, I know you and others do have actual experiences of angels where they can feel them, see them in different ways. Like, can you speak to that?
Yeah, and I always love talking about this because, and we spoke about it a long time ago, is I think it can be really confusing, because when we talk about spiritual experience, we often think of clairvoyance or seeing an angel, right? Or seeing a spirit guide, or even in a meditation, like I'm seeing it, so therefore it's real, right? And particularly if you're one of those people that has to have that real proof, it can be really challenging, and then we start to discount any of our experiences. And for me, I wasn't a seer, and that isn't my strongest sense, so I will see things now, but I am just a real knower. So I really just know things and I really feel them as well. And the more that I've learned to trust how I experience that, you know, that nudge or that feeling or that experience of tuning into what's right for somebody else or for me, the more that I can actually have a broader experience, perhaps in seeing or in other experiences. So it's really important to acknowledge the ways that your intuition, which is the same thing, speaks to you. And that's what I love, because then people actually realize, oh, I've always been connected, or I always feel that, or I always get that sign, or I always have that experience, but they're not seeing it. And so they actually suddenly realize they don't have to. So the chances are that you are already feeling or experiencing your angels in some way. And I would suggest that maybe you ask them for a sign as well, a sign that you can easily understand. And usually that will show up in, you know, and you don't have to question it, because if you think it's a sign, it is. So that's a really great way to be able to give you that extra confirmation. But the first thing I would say is not to box in how you experience them. Yeah. So yeah, actually, I don't know if you mind me saying this, but I'm actually teaching a class in May about this. So if you want to, if any of you are in England or in the area, if you want to come and learn about the angels and learn how to communicate with them, you can absolutely do that.
What's the date and location?
It's May 12th and 13th at the Karana Centre in Ardingly. And we spend 2 days really getting to know our guardian angels. We talk about how they communicate with you. We do meditations. We use angel cards. We do all kinds of different things to really help you to open up. So whether you've had no experience of them or you just like to really tap into them on a deeper level, it's a really lovely, lovely thing to do. It's one of my favourite things.
Perfect. So Ardingly, for those that don't know, is in...
You can find all the details on my website, annagracetaylor.com.
annagracetaylor.com. And I put it in the comments afterwards. So
I will. And also, I think if you go to my Facebook page, which I'll post a link with as well, there's also a poster about it as well. So, yeah.
Yes, share. Absolutely. So Tanya says, hi, Katie and Anna. Can I know my guardians' names to be able to speak with them?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I always feel like the names kind of become clearer to us sometimes as time goes on, or you can hear them immediately. That's another thing that we cover in the course as well. But I would also say that you can literally spend a bit of time maybe doing Katie's meditation, or in a way that you feel is sacred to you, whether it's closing your eyes, putting a piece of music on, or whatever it is that you feel good about. And then you literally ask, you know, guardian angels or guides, show me a name or show me one of your names. And it is whatever you hear it as or whatever you experience it as. It's not to be second guessed, because as we say, we can kind of talk ourselves out of it. So you can ask for a sign, you can ask them to repeat it, you can give the, you know, you can ask for more information. But really, I think the most important thing, especially with guardian angels, because they can have any name. The name is for our benefit. So it's a little bit like if I was speaking to Katie and she didn't know my name, it would kind of be a bit odd. It would be, you know, you wouldn't have such a relationship with them. So really, the name is for our human benefit, so that we feel more connected to them. But they don't really mind, you know, they're just going to be there regardless. So they are open to you asking that, but don't get caught up in thinking that you have to have a name in order to connect with them.
Yeah, no, we do want one though, don't we? So
yeah, we do. So I would really ask, and, you know, do whatever you feel to send to you, and get yourself nice and quiet. Perhaps do a meditation that Katie has, or whatever is going to help you to do that. And then really just open yourself up to whatever comes to you. And then you can keep asking if you like. I know a friend of mine, she asked and she got like a really unusual name, but still a very human sounding name, but just a name she'd never heard of before. And then literally 2 days later, the name that she heard in this meditation was opened up in this book that was on her bookshelf. It was like the most peculiar name that she'd ever heard, but the name was in a book that she had on her bookshelf. So, you know, they'll speak to us in all kinds of ways if we want that clarity.
Yeah, and that's proof that she's been heard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's like, oh, hey, I'm just going to give it to you in a tangible way. So
I love asking for signs. I mean, I remember once I was wondering if I should do sort of business coaching program, and it was a big investment at the time. The money was really tough for me to come by, probably because I hadn't sold my house. And,
yeah.
and
oh man, you're going to feel so abundant now.
abundant. And I remember it was a mastermind group.
Yeah.
And I kept asking. Anyway, I went into this bookshop with a girlfriend, and this book had just fallen off the shelf called Mastermind.
Oh, wow.
What? I mean, sometimes the signs are so clear and sometimes not so much, but you know it's your sign when it's your sign, right? I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anna Marie says, yeah, she says, what you say about knowing really helps, Anna. Thank you. As I often wonder why I don't see anything, even though I believe the angels have my back. Yeah, you don't have to see. Probably 70% of my experience is not seeing. So don't worry about seeing them. Be grateful for the ways that they do communicate with you. And the more I found that I can just be aware of those things, the more that I've opened up in other ways.
Absolutely. And Tanya says, thanks for clarity. Jean said she was given a sign by a friend who passed away, and it was beautiful. Oh. That's so nice when that happens.
Really nice. Really nice. Oh, thank you so much for this lovely chat. I'm sorry about the technical issues. I still can't see myself or you, but I'm glad you can see me.
Oh, I'll have to work out if it's something I'm meant to be doing my end. So we'll get
I don't think so. I think it's just a glitch, and Be Live don't seem to know the answer either. But it's technology. You never know what can happen.
We see you and hear you, my darling. We do.
Thank you, love. Thank you. I'll post the information in case anyone would like it, and just let me know if anyone has any questions. I am part of the group, so I'll do my best. If you tag me in anything, I will come back and answer your questions if I can.
Perfect. Thank you, Tanya. Have a lovely day. You too, Tanya. Thanks, Anna. Awesome to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. And we'll post all the links underneath. And we'll see you next week. Okay. I hope that was helpful. Love you loads. See you then. Bye.